1 Timothy 6. But those who desire to be rich fall into temptation, into a snare, into many senseless and harmful desires that plunge people into ruin and destruction. For the love of money is a root of all kinds of evils. It is through this craving that some have wandered away from the faith and pierced themselves with many pangs. But as for you, O man of God, flee these things.
Controls the minds and hearts of his people, like communist dictators from another era.
The iron fist is stronger than anything we've seen anywhere else.
It's the most successful totalitarian regime ever constructed.
Why has this once strong and independent people allowed one of the most repressive regimes to survive?
This goes with the Korean tradition of monarchical power.
How has North Korea arrived at its unique and perilous place in the world today? Kim Jong-il, absolute ruler of North Korea, is potentially the most dangerous man in power today. The man behind a virulent campaign of propaganda against the United States, Kim now claims to possess nuclear weapons and says he will use them if his regime is threatened. He rules over the most isolated nation on earth, a country the size of Mississippi, population 22 million. For years, he remained a hidden and mysterious figure. Now he has taken center stage. Yet his true intentions and nature are still open to debate.
He was portrayed as basically a very weird kind of person that you had no idea what he was going to be like. But when I met him, he was actually quite charming.
He may not have a balanced personality. Sometimes he's very, very reckless, and sometimes he's very calm. But he's quite bright and almost brilliant in his thinking.
He's nobody's fool, but he's apparently a very quixotic, compulsive, rather rash man. That aspect of him is worrisome in a leader who's going to have his finger on a nuclear trigger, maybe.
The full extent of Kim's nuclear capability is still unclear. But if he actually possesses atomic weapons, or the materials to make them, the threat reaches well beyond the region.
North Korea is ready to sell nuclear missile, nuclear weapons to any buyer at reasonable prices.
You can't stop a handful of plutonium, which is all it takes to make a bomb, a sort of grapefruit-sized lump, from getting out of North Korea. One of the things I fear about a nuclear North Korea is that it will sell plutonium to the likes of Osama bin Laden.
The reality of nuclear weapons in North Korea could also lead to a perilous new arms race.
Immediately, Japan will go nuclear. Then you have China will be alarmed. So no time will you have Sino-Japanese arms race. These are huge countries.
By all standards, the situation in Korea is difficult, the options limited. Even without their use of missiles and unconventional weapons, an attack on North Korea could result in a devastating retaliation. Thousands of artillery rockets hidden in the hills just north of the border could reach South Korea's capital, Seoul, only 30 miles away, in under 3 minutes.
In 1994, the North Koreans said if anyone thinks they'll be contemplating an attack on North Korea, we can turn Seoul into a sea of fire.
There's no bigger threat than that. There are 12 million people in Seoul. South Korea can be reached by conventional cannon, not missiles, not nuclear bomb.
Since the invasion of Iraq, North Korean officials fear that they will be the next target of U.S. forces. But a crucial element of the American military strategy in Iraq was the expectation of support of the local population. In North Korea, this possibility is highly unlikely.
What happened in Baghdad will not happen in North Korea. North Koreans are very well indoctrinated.
Despite the enormity of their suffering over the last decade, that included a widespread famine in which more than 1 million people starved to death, the vast majority of North Koreans do not appear to hate their leader.
The level of popularity enjoyed by Kim Jong-il is unquestionable. There's no divisiveness within the system. There's no dissension or dissident groups. It would be very difficult for us to replace the regime. Then replace with what?
Kim Jong-il has survived into the 21st century, while other old-style communist regimes are long gone. But since its inception, North Korea has always been unique among totalitarian socialist societies. What makes it different, and a key factor in Kim's survival, is his cynical exploitation of deeply rooted cultural traditions to manipulate and control the minds and hearts of his people.
The North Korean system that seems so strange to outsiders makes a lot of sense to Koreans because it fits in very well with their traditional worldview, with the history they've come out of and these notions of social hierarchy, reverence for the leader. Those are all things that are reinforced by this culture.
Now we can see a new world coming into view. A world in which there is the very real prospect of a new world order.
The latest technology for identifying people when they make purchases is actually the implantable chip that you can actually embed directly into human flesh.
Can a microscopic tag be implanted in a person's body to track his every movement? You will rule on that, mark my words.
A chip in everybody would be the universal monetary system par excellence, because there'd be no escapes.
We have before us the opportunity to forge for ourselves and for future generations a new world order, a world where the rule of law, not the law of the jungle, governs the conduct of nations. When we are successful, and we will be, we have a real chance at this new world order, an order in which a credible United Nations can use its peacekeeping role to fulfill the promise and vision of the UN's founders, not the law of the jungle.
As a symbol of our new tenfold global unity,